Hello, and welcome to a new week. Also, welcome to another episode of the Market Snapshot series. My name is Rufas Kamau, Markets Analyst at FX Pesa. So feel welcome. I'd like to begin with a mic test. So if you can hear me clearly, kindly type hi on the live comment section, and these will confirm that everything is working just fine. So it's also the last week of the month. So we are looking to end the month on a high and then head to a new month. And this will be the last month of the first quarter of this year. So a lot is happening in the markets. Everyone is trying to adjust. So hello, Apollo. Hello, Susan. Thank you. Thank you for your responses. I think we can start right away. So today, I would like us to begin by first getting an overview of the economic calendar and the economic events that we are expecting this week. So as you can see, we already started the week with quite a number of releases. One of them was the retail sales in New Zealand, that is quarterly retail sales, which came in weaker than expected. In the previous reading, it was 0.6%. We expected a growth of 0.2%. But the actual result was a contraction of negative 0.6%. So core retail sales also disappointed, dropping further down by negative 1.3%. So then we had the company operating profits quarter over quarter, up 10.6% in Australia, compared to an expectation of 1.8%. So going forward for the rest of the day, we'll be looking at M3 money supply in the Eurozone, as well as private loans. We'll be looking at a speech at 12 p.m. from MPC member Broadbent. Then later on at 4:30 p.m., remember, this will be the US market open. We will be looking at the current account of Canada. This is the difference between imports and exports. Core durable goods orders for the US, durable goods orders at the same time, as well as pending home sales. So home sales data seems to be the most significant data point for today before we look at the FOMC speech by Jefferson. This will be happening at 6:30 p.m. So this can be considered as a relatively quiet day where we don't have a lot of news announcements. Most of these announcements are not high impact news. So we expect the markets to continue with the trends that we had last week. And at the same time, we expect traders to be looking out for technical price levels. So it's a very technical week. We don't have much happening this week. So Tuesday is a much awaited day, especially for Japanese yen traders. It will start with preliminary industrial production data, month over month, and then retail sales. Then later in the day, we'll be having a speech from the new Bank of Japan Governor Ueda. So this will be happening at 7:10 a.m. tomorrow. So later, after that, at 8 a.m., we will be seeing inflation data from Japan, or what we call core CPI. So this will be a very interesting data point, since it will be adding pressure on the Bank of Japan to start considering reducing quantitative easing in preparation for potential rate hikes. Then housing starts in Japan will also be released at the same time. So as we move on through the week, some of the key highlight news will be the GDP at 4:30 p.m. For Canada, CB consumer confidence data from the US, as well as the Richmond Manufacturing Index. We'll also be having another speech from FOMC member Goolsbee. Then inflation data for Australia, GDP for Australia. And as we head further down the week, we'll be having manufacturing PMI for China, manufacturing PMI for the Eurozone, as well as for the UK. Then a speech from Bank of England Governor Bailey. This is on Wednesday at 1 p.m. ISM manufacturing PMI for the US at 6 p.m. And then as we head towards the end of the week, we'll be having the CPI flash estimate for the Eurozone. This will be very important looking at the inflation data for February, core CPI flash estimate, and then RBNZ Governor Adrian Orr on Thursday evening. This will be tentative, but close to midnight. And then towards the end of the week, we look at the jobs data from Japan, Tokyo core CPI, or inflation data for the city of Tokyo. FOMC member Waller will also be issuing a speech on Friday. And then we end the week with ISM services PMI. So as you can see, we don't expect a lot of stuff to be happening and drive prices crazy. So a lot of trading this week will be focused on the technicals. So besides these, it's also very important to note that we have had a pretty strong dollar. So last week was relatively strong. So if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so markets opening here for the dollar index and then closing higher and higher and ending the week on a high was very illustrative of the market adjusting to the potential of 3 more rate hikes this year. And these are estimated to be 25 basis points each for the next 3 sittings. So the markets are already trying to price in this information, and this is leading to a stronger dollar, whereas other currencies are weakening against the dollar. So for New Zealand news this morning, we saw the New Zealand dollar weakening against the dollar, but now it's beginning to recover. So a lot of these currencies are showing signs of recovering against the dollar. So last 2 hours, Euro USD seems to be bouncing. Pound USD also seems to be bouncing. But the overall sentiment is that the dollar is pretty strong. So we should be potentially looking for opportunities to buy the dollar against weaker currencies. So USD yen was the trade of the week last week, making a very strong bounce here and narrowing on Friday after moving sideways for quite a period of time. So you might be looking to squeeze in another opportunity in USD yen. So gold remained bearish, kept on breaking new support. Clearly going and invalidating any long positions. So now the focus is now moving towards the lower side, or basically some further downward momentum. So for 3 straight weeks, the S&P 500 has been losing. So we could be seeing a 4th week loading this week, where we could be seeing lower prices in our US indices, not just the SP 500. We could be seeing the same happening with the Dow, as well as the NASDAQ. So all indications are showing that we have broken the lower trend line, and there is a good chance we will be seeing some further downside happening in these indices. So Brent oil has attempted to make reversals. So it has been quite a tough period for Brent, every time attempting to go higher, but sellers come in and keep pushing these prices lower. So from what we are seeing here, it's a bearish channel on the 4-hour chart, sorry, 1-hour chart. So the market basically making these huge swings. And now we are testing a very critical trend line. So I will be very interested to see what happens when the price gets around this area. So this area serves as today's open as well as Friday's high. So also was tested here in mid-morning on Friday. So if oil happens to break this level of around $82.9, $83, then there is a good chance we'll be seeing a rally. If this doesn't happen, then the dominant pattern continues. So the idea is to observe the price action around this area. If there's a break, then we could be seeing oil make a recovery. If there's no break, then the pattern continues, and we expect the price to drop further back downwards. So it's a very interesting price level to be watching today. So as for the UK 100, it's one of the indices that I've been mentioning seems to be extremely overbought. So made quite a good break last week, continued to drop, found some support levels here, and now from the current price action, it's indicating some strong growth. So I'll still be looking to execute short selling positions. So this rally is pretty good for me, mainly because my bias is downwards. So any retracements are taken as potential entry points. So right now, it doesn't make sense to short. However, if I happen to see any form of weakness or bearish entry, then I might consider that. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to type that in the live comment section, and I would be responding to that right away. So there's a good question between PPIs and ISMs, which causes the most volatility. So producer price index and ISM manufacturing index are two different data points. One for ISM, of course, it's the Institute of Supply Management releasing this data. It's analyzed differently. So when you think of PPI is a deeper insight into what we expect in terms of inflation. So if inflation is the sensitive thing in the market right now, then PPI will have a bigger effect. However, if investors are focused on economic growth, then they will be looking at the key drivers of the economy, and one of them is manufacturing. So one of the strongest measures of manufacturing conditions in the US is ISM manufacturing PMI. So in that case, if they are concerned about economic growth, then they will be reacting to the ISM data. I hope that answers your question. Hello, Charles, Saida, Samuel, Steven, thank you guys. So what do BPS mean? This is basis points. So when you talk of basis points, they are normally used when you talk about interest rates. So 1% is considered to be 100 basis points. So when you say 25 basis points, it's basically a quarter percentage point. So if interest rates go up by 0.25%, we basically say 25 basis points. So are you expecting a weaker dollar today? Definitely, no, not definitely. I expect the dollar to remain strong. So whereas in the early trading, we have seen some currencies recover against the dollar, at some part in the day, I expect the dollar to resume strength. So yes, I'm very bullish on the dollar this week. So there's quite a number of requests to check on a number of currencies. I've seen pound yen, card yen, pound card. So let's look at those before we end the session. So it's also important to mention that two companies that were announcing their earnings last week, Walmart and Home Depot, some of the largest retail sales companies in the US, they announced that they will be increasing salaries. So by increasing salaries, it basically means that there will be higher wage growth. So if other companies in the retail sector are doing the same as a result of the tight labor market, then we will continue seeing wage growth accelerate. And this is not the Fed, something that the Fed is looking to achieve. So as long as wage growth is rising, then people will have excess cash, and these will lead to higher inflationary pressure, eventually pushing the Fed to tighten the economy even further. So let's look at pound yen and see what's happening with that chart. So from the daily chart, you can see that we don't have a strong directional movement. So I would say it has been much of a sideways story with this acting as the resistance and this other line acting as the support. So as you all know, resistance and support are not specific prices. They're basically zones around which the participants in the market tend to change their decisions or beliefs about an asset. So in this case, we seem to be on an upswing. So from the 4-hour chart, what we are seeing from the upswing, if I try and zoom out here, it seems like we had a market that was moving sideways. This was a pretty important zone for a while. So the market was finding resistance around this area. And then after some time, what we saw is the market breaking this area, retesting and then bouncing. So there could be a chance that we'll be seeing some further upside. So as we have seen from the economic calendar, there's a lot of news affecting Japan this week. So it might be a good idea to look into potential trading opportunities in pound yen. So on one hand, you look at the strength of the pound and potentially trade off the weakness of the yen. So for instance, if the BOJ was to maintain its current policy of stimulating the economy and keeping rates at a negative, then you might want to consider trading this channel. And this, I believe, is happening on the 1-hour chart. So there was another request. So we might not be able to look at all the currencies that you mentioned. So let's look at CAD-N. So this CAD JPY, the daily chart, this is how it looks like. So it looks like a currency that was really gaining against the Japanese yen last year, and then a pullback here, then a very strong bounce. Now the Canadian dollar is gaining against the Japanese yen. So I see a very strong correlation between CAD-Yen and USD JPY. So if you are to look at USD JPY, go to the daily chart, it's the same story. Very strong rise, pullback, and now you can see a very strong recovery here. So I would trade the correlation, a very strong positive correlation between the two. So in this case, I would probably consider trading the continuation. So far, we are seeing this form of consolidation happening here, and we're expecting a continuation higher. However, I would largely wait for the speech tomorrow from the new Bank of Japan Governor Ueda. So if the speech indicates that he will retain the current policy, then the JPY weakens further, and we continue seeing some further upside momentum in CAD JPY. So there's still more commentary. I've gone through the novice pro series, but I have one problem. I don't know how to use the economic news. Kindly help. So we might be looking into these later in the week. So kindly follow the series this week. That is the Market Pulse series. There's also the session we'll be having tomorrow at 4 p.m. That is markets at a glance. So make sure that you book for the session, and I'll try to take some time and look into that. So what's your opinion on dollar crosses? Is it safe to trade crosses? As my view is that US markets news causes crazy volatility. Yes. So it's always better to trade using the reserve currency or the US dollar. So rather than going for the crosses, just trade the one currency against the dollar. So what's your opinion on dollar crosses? I think I've responded to that. So once I went live, everything changed. I'm always following your footstep, even though I'm quite the silent guy. Yeah. So yes, definitely, it's quite a shocker when you get into live account trading. It's a little bit different from a demo account. This is when you actually start learning how to trade a live account. So trust the process and turn up each day. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope to see you on the next session.